All right, Corritta Lewis, rapid fire intro. In 1 to 2 sentences, who are you?
I am 1/3 of It's a Family Thing. We are a 2-mom travel family that decided to sell everything one day and travel the world. And it didn't work out for us.
Okay, we're going to get into that. And how do you make money online?
So we have quite a few websites. We have about 6 to make money. But I also work full time.
And what is your favorite thing about digital nomading?
Working from anywhere. I've literally worked from a boat.
And where are you now, and what are your 2 to 3 favorite cities in the world?
We are right now in our hometown in Warren. We just got here an hour ago. Favorite city, Thailand, specifically city. I'd have to say Fifi Islands was a blast. And then Hawaii. I mean, you can't go wrong with Hawaii. It's like paradise.
And what's your best concise advice for aspiring digital nomads?
If you think about it too long, you're going to talk yourself out of it. You got to just do it. You got to take the plunge. Most people will always regret not doing it. You won't regret just going for it.
And what small change has made a big difference in your life?
The pandemic definitely made a huge difference, but the change from the pandemic for me was focusing more. You don't realize how much time you waste doing nothing, like playing games on my phone or just doing nothing.
And what's your favorite book?
4-Hour Workweek.
And if you had 20 seconds to live, what message would you share with the world?
To be a kind person. I think that's something that's important as we travel, and just how people view us around the world as Americans, is to just be a kind person.
Awesome. Well, that's all the fast questions I have for you. I appreciate you being here, especially after a long day of travels. I think I'd love to start with just getting an overview of your digital nomad journey and story for anyone who has never heard of you, when you started, where you've been, the broad picture of your journey.
Sure. So I didn't intend on being a digital nomad necessarily. We started our blog, but it wasn't making any money. It wasn't getting any traffic. It was just there. So we had saved up money, sold our house, had some other things. We have saved up about $50,000 to $60,000. And we were just planning on using that. And when I went to go resign from my job, my boss said, "You can work remotely." And I was like, "What? That's awesome. I could travel and still work." So that's what we did. We traveled, took road trips. We drove from San Diego to Colorado. I worked on my phone. I pulled over in New Mexico. We saw the gorge. I'm taking a meeting. So that's kind of how it started. And then I ended up getting laid off. So I lost my job, and I put everything I had into the blog, and it actually started making money in 2020. During the pandemic, no one was traveling, but we started making $300, $500, $1,000, $1,500. And I'm just like, wow, this is awesome. So I was doing that, and I was applying for jobs because I had to for unemployment, which I wasn't getting. So that was nice. And I ended up getting a job, which was perfect because my boss said, "Hey, the deal was I would move back to California," which I never planned on doing. So I bought myself 6 months so I could have some money, so we could have some money in the bank. And then I was just going to resign. And I just went to her and said, "Hey, I think I can work 100% remote. I don't think there's a need for me to be in the office." And she agreed. And that's kind of where we're at today.
And what exactly do you do from a remote job perspective?
So I am an HR systems analyst. So I focus on the technical side of HR. So when people think HR, it's like hiring, firing, but I'm on the back end in terms of the system that you use to clock in, and running reports for turnover and really data-driven things, set up our system. I'm starting a project now where we're implementing a new time management system, which is where people clock in and out. We're implementing a new one, and I can do that from anywhere. I have done it from anywhere.
Amazing. And tell me about how COVID has adjusted your travel plans. I mean, it seems like from talking to you before the interview, you had a big XO. No, talking to you before the interview, it feels like COVID has created a real roller coaster. So talk to me about COVID and your digital nomading journey.
I think COVID changed my personality.
Okay.
And I'll tell you in a second, because when we first started this trip, I had it planned out to the T. I had our tickets, I had our Airbnbs. We're going to go from here to here, from here to here, from here to here. And it was all great. I got excursions, and I just planned everything out. And then everything got canceled, and it was like, what the F? So I don't plan anything anymore, and it drives my wife crazy. I'm not making this up, literally would be like, "Hey, you want to go to Disney in 3 days?" She'd be like, what? I'm like, "Yeah, let's I mean, let's just do it. It's in the middle of the week. I don't have any meetings. Let's just fly down to Orlando, get Airbnb for a couple of days. We can go to Disney. We can come back. It's all good. And it drives her insane. But it really, I stopped planning so far ahead because you realize how much you do not control anything, absolutely nothing. So that was the biggest change in terms of how we travel. And now I think it put a spotlight on the places that we go and being more intentional with them. So that's something that changed. Because before I would look at other family bloggers like, oh, I want to go where they went. And I want to do what they did. And I want to do this. And I want to do that. And you get caught up in Instagram, social media. Once we moved to Mexico, it really changed my perception of things. And who are we really doing this for? Are we doing this for other people? Or are we doing this for ourselves? And we wanted to grow as people. We wanted to teach our son and bring him up differently, raise him differently, to be humble, accepting, to be a kind person, to be multicultural. So it really changed our focus on where we travel, how we travel, and what we do when we travel too. So we decided to put our money more into local hands, a lot less resorts than we used to do, less kind of big tours that we used to do, a lot more local things. So I think that's a really positive impact that COVID had on our travels. Awesome. And you get to see how people were impacted.
Yeah. What you said about the shift from being a planner to being more spontaneous, that resonates with me. I think my gut, I'm more spontaneous, but I was raised in kind of a travel planning family with itineraries and different things. And I've definitely learned, even I think pre-COVID, to not book too far in advance, to maximize flexibility around. Sometimes there's places where you love, where you want to stay longer, and sometimes there's places that you don't love and you want to leave sooner. And I've realized if you have flights, especially flights, but if you have flights and Airbnbs and lots of like non-refundable things, then it just really limits your optionality and limits a lot of the freedom, which is one of the core principles of why I love being a digital nomad. So I resonate with that.
I'm going to have my wife watch this and maybe she won't be on me as much because it drives her insane. We took it while we were in Colombia. I was like, hey, let's go to, where did we go? We went to, we went to Cartagena. We went to Hacienda Napoles. We went to all those things. And literally I told her 2 days before. And that's what we knew. We had to be out of the Airbnb in 3 days. We had nowhere to go. So maybe I cut it a little too close.
I'd love to hear more about traveling as a nomad family. Long term, I plan to still live somewhat of a nomadic life when I have kids. And now I hear the cliche thing, which is, oh, travel while you're young, blah, 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 blah. Obviously, you guys have a kid, you're traveling. Give the lowdown. There's no excuses coming on your side, you're doing it.
The first thing I'll say is starting young is the best time. People ask what's the best time to travel with kids when they're babies. It's the absolute best time ever. They don't talk, they don't run, they cry, but really they just need to be fed and diaper changed. So that's pretty much it. I know some babies are a little bit more difficult than others, but that is the best time. And plus, they're free everywhere. All you have to do is pay taxes. You pay $10 or $12 or whatever, and they're free. And it's the best time to do it. Every parent is scared of the flight. We're talking about this on the flight over here because you just don't know what your kid is going to do once they hit that toddler age. They have a mind of their own, and it's like you can't reason with them. It's like they're holding you hostage. They're like little cute hostage takers. And you can't really reason with them, right? And you do the best you can, but honestly, you come to a realization, which we have, that he has a right to exist. He has a right to be there just as much as everybody else has a right to be there. And we're doing what we can. It's not like we go there and say, we want you to cry the whole flight and make things miserable for everyone, and you do the best you can. And that's the best you can do. And honestly, you will never see those people again. So my thing is to always go for it and start early because they are free. And that was the biggest driver for us taking the gap year earlier than we were, because I was thinking 2024, but we're just like, he's 14 months, he's free, he walks now, so that makes it a little bit easier. He didn't really talk yet, so that was a plus. Now his vocabulary is no, and French fries and more no. So We just tell people when they say, like, I want to travel with my 2-year-old or I want to travel with my 3-year-old, I say, go for it. You're going to have a good time because kids are so much fun to travel with because you see things from a different perspective that you wouldn't see if you were traveling just by yourself. Because although you don't mean to, you're selfish when you're single and you're just out living. You're selfish and you don't notice things. But as you become a parent, you notice things. You'll notice that little girl or you notice a little boy that's been across the street with his mom selling stuff and he doesn't have any toys. So you'll notice things like that. It changes you, honestly, and it's so much fun. It's your chance to be a big kid again. We went to a water park and had a blast, like an absolute blast. I went down every single water slide and he just jumped in the pool for 3 days.
Love it. Yeah, I mean,
but if it was just me, I wouldn't have gone.
I'm a little kid at heart, so I definitely look forward to those moments, to being able to the little kid in me coming out and getting to go to water parks and stuff. I definitely look forward to that. Separate question, still travel related, but traveling as a person of color, and I guess also as a family of color, how has that experience been, and what advice would you give to other people of color who are thinking about traveling?
I would encourage them to travel because it is just people of color don't travel enough internationally in terms of being exposed to other people from other places. So places like China, where it's such a homogenous society, everybody's Chinese, and you have a couple little ethnic groups here and there, but you don't have a large Black population. So I think first, getting your passport and traveling internationally. For us, it's a weird dynamic because everyone's intrigued by our son. Because he's Black and Korean, everyone's just blown away. In Colombia, people would follow us, people took pictures because they're just so enamored with him. But we've had instances where people wouldn't let us eat in their restaurants because we were Black, or they wouldn't pick us up on a taxi because we were Black, or maybe it's because we were American. I'd like to think it's because we were American, so let's go with that. But I think it's also our opportunity to show people non-stereotypical things, because when you are in a place like China and all they see are things like The Wire, they think that's what it's like and that's what all Black people are like, and they're not exposed to other people, to maybe middle class people of color. So I think going and talking with locals, that's why we stay in local areas. That's why we go out of our way to, that's not the reason why, because my wife is just, she has such a good heart. We go out of our way to help kids in areas that we're in, and we go out of our way, if we see someone, we give them food or things like that. And it starts to slowly change the perception of people of color in other areas.
Thank you for sharing all of that. And on your content creation journey, are there specific courses or thought leaders or websites that you really like that you would recommend to someone else who's interested in going on a similar journey?
From Stupid Simple SEO is a really good course. He's a really good guy. He's very helpful. He's very knowledgeable. He doesn't sell you any BS. The proof is in the pudding, basically. And you can see growth. Because when I started his course, I had maybe 2,000 page views. Right now, we took a hit with the last Google algorithm update, but we were at 35,000 page views a month. Pretty good.
Yeah.
Now we're at 25, so now it's time for me to pump out content. And
you're going into grind mode. You're going heads down. Awesome. And for someone who, I guess, who hasn't followed your journey within content, what has been key to getting to the level where you are now? Like, you went from starting from being at 0, now you're at 25,000 page views a month. From the sounds of it, that journey has been just a lot of research and a lot of work. But are there key learnings that you could share from that journey?
I find something that works for me is I always interject our personal experiences, good, bad, or ugly. I don't like when people kind of just puff pieces and they throw it with filler. I need the honest truth. And if somewhere sucks, it's not a good place to go visit in terms of if you have kids or to do this. It's not a good place for toddlers. It's not a good place for kids under 10 or things like that. Something that's really worked for me is I incorporate all of our personal experiences, especially the bad, which right now is trying to potty train. It's not going anywhere.
Sorry, what was that last part?
Potty training on the go.
Potty training on the go. Okay.
On the go, which is not going
Okay. And within the SEO and blogging sphere, what are your favorite tools that you use for your business?
Help a reporter out was huge for us. In 2020, it was a really good time. We got to mention in New York Times, Washington Post, Reader's Digest, Nerd Wallet. It was really, really good for us in terms of building up our authority and joining groups. Because blogging is weird because you're competing against one another. You have to work together at the same time. It's a weird dance that I'm competing against you, another family travel blogger, but your content is relevant. It would be nice for you to link for me, so I'll write a guest post for you, or I'll do this for you in exchange for this to help me out. So it's a weird song and dance blogging because it's competition, but also cooperation.
Yeah.
So those two things really helped me.
Well, one final thing to bring up on the travel side that I'd love to get your thoughts. You had mentioned a philosophy around seeing people, not just places. I'd love to hear more on your thoughts on that statement.
Well, we make it a point because I am a textbook introvert. I don't like going up to people, ask them questions. I don't like, whether we speak the same language or not, I don't like it. And my wife's the opposite. She'll go ask anybody anything. We don't speak the same language. She'll do sign language. She'll point. She'll figure it out. And I think traveling more has forced me kind of out of my shyness and my introvertness. That's not a word, but I'm being a severe introvert. And because I speak Spanish pretty decent, I don't really like to talk to anybody, so it's not getting better. So I think taking the time to really, what we typically do is we stay in local areas and taking the time to really get to know people in the areas that we're in. We usually stay somewhere for at a minimum of a month. We don't hop place to place because it's a lot more expensive. It's a lot more difficult. With a 3-year-old, we have way too much junk right here. There are 7 suitcases all around here. So way too much stuff, but staying in a particular area, really getting to know that area and really getting to know the people. And as I was saying, kids are great icebreakers. They're phenomenal icebreakers because Caleb will just walk up to anybody. Lately, his thing is saying, Buenos dias, hola, buenos dias, to everyone. He doesn't care, and he'll keep saying it until you say something back. Buenos dias, until you say something back. So I think taking the time to really get to know the people in the area is really important, and doing what you can to, not necessarily because, you can't save the world, and really dealing with that and not getting caught up in that complex, but just taking the time to really get to know people. And I think kind gestures, and I think just keeping in mind when you're out and about, simple things for us is we don't wear flashy things. We don't wear super name brand things, sweatpants, t-shirt or whatever. And it's fine if you have nice things, but when you're in areas, thinking about those people and seeing that. So that's something that's important to me, and not just keeping in mind that you see some of these beautiful places around the world, people who live there won't have the ability to see them, or won't be able to go, or won't be able to do this because they just can't afford it. There's 6, 8, 10 people in the house and they're just trying to make it. So being cognizant of that and open-minded and keeping an eye out for people, because you don't realize how much you have tunnel vision and you ignore people, as you're walking or as you're on the move, or how much you just block people out.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing all that. Before transitioning into doing a deep dive on a digital nomad location, which we're going to talk about Playa del Carmen, but before going deep there, any other thoughts, learnings, advice, anything else you want to share?
If you're thinking about doing it, do it. Most people, even if, and I'm going to be honest, my general idea when we first started is we'll go. When we run out of money, we'll come back and we'll start all over. That's basically, we'll go, we'll have fun, we'll do all the things we want to do. And when we run out of money, we'll come back to the US, we'll stay with one of our parents, and we'll figure it out. So I'm not telling you to be irresponsible. Don't say, I want people saying like, well, you said, no, don't do that. Don't quit your job tomorrow and just run off if you don't have any money or any plan or anything. But I'm saying, if that's something you want to do, to go for it. And something that I tell people is don't talk about it. Don't talk about it. You know what? Tell yourself, I'm going to do it. This is the day I'm going to do it. Let family know 3 days before, a week before, things are bought, everything's in motion, and then you tell people. Because everyone will do everything they can to talk you out of it. Even though they've never been there, they never experienced it, they have no clue. When we told people we were moving to Mexico, somebody told us, oh my God, you moving in with the cartels? What the? No, we're not moving in with the cartels with our 1-year-old. We're going to Mexico and we're going to figure things out down there. And we had a blast. Don't tell people what you're planning on doing until everything's in motion, and then let them know and let people know you're safe.
That's good advice.
Talk you out of it.
I like.
You'll start thinking those what ifs.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's right from the vantage point of people. I think when you start in general, not just with nomading, but when you do things that are far outside of the normal path and that make other people feel uncomfortable or make other people question their own lives and their own life paths, people will try to drag you back the path that they feel is the comfortable path for them. And so I love that thought around, like, don't involve too many people in this decision, and like put your head down and do what you need to do, and then let people know. I like that a lot.
Because people mean well. People really do mean well, but a lot of people have this perception you can't do something because they don't see themselves doing it. So if they can't see themselves doing it, they don't believe you can do it. And they're not. That doesn't mean they're an enemy or anything like that. They're just, we have this great relationship with comfort and familiarity, and we love that, and we want to sit in that, and that makes us all cozy. And people, even though they mean well, they kill your dreams. They're dream killers, and they don't know it. And I think that's something that you have to keep in mind. And being a digital nomad, it gets lonely. I mean, to be honest, it gets lonely. And that's something that my wife and I talk about all the time. And we have each other. I mean, let's be honest. We live together. I work from home. We're going to blog together. We're together all the time. Sometimes we're sick of each other. So it would be nice to have a friend to just like, oh, I'm going over this person's house. I'm going over this person's house. And we've met people along the way, but then they've gone off and we've gone off. And sometimes it can be lonely. And something that Will Smith said that I hold on to dearly is that following your dreams is a solitary, lonely pursuit. And you have to be willing to do it on your own, or with your family in my case. But you have to be willing to do it on your own, whether people support you or not, whether people are in your corner or not. It's a very lonely, solitary pursuit, and you have to be willing to give it your everything.
I like that. You dropped some good wisdom bombs in there. I appreciate it. Well, with that, let's transition into doing a digital nomad location deep dive on Playa del Carmen, Mexico. And let's start with, your general thoughts and experiences, pros and cons for someone who's thinking about going there for, let's say, 1 to 6 months. Give us the crash course on Playa del Carmen.
First thing is they're tightening up on visas. So people have been overstaying their visas. So getting a 6-month visa, you have to let the TSA agent know, because it's up to that, not TSA, they're not TSA, but you have to let the person, their immigration, know you want to stay for 6 months, and you might not get it. Some people have places lined up for 3 months, 6 months, and they only got a 7-day visa. So that's something going into it that you need to calculate or factor in. It's not automatic 180 days. So that's the first thing. Second thing is, like, there are a lot of touristy things to do, but they're very expensive. So you can go to the eco theme parks, and you can go scuba diving, and you can go to Cozumel, and you can do all these things, but you're going to pay the tourist price. It's not likely that you'll get anything cheaper, and that's just what it is. So although it can be affordable, that's not always the case. Always skip high season. It is impossible to find a place to live, and they double the prices, sometimes even triple the prices. So the Airbnb that we stayed at, we got it for $400 US, so 8,000 pesos. At the time, the exchange rate was awesome, so it's $350. Now we have a friend down there, and she said the same thing. The same Airbnb is listed for 24,000 pesos a month, and it's been empty since we left. So you want to avoid those really high seasons.
And when is high season exactly?
Be your best friend.
It's high season. I imagine it could be winter,
starts,
but
up and around December, because November is typically hurricane season, so it's not that's the cheapest price. So that's when the things are cheaper. Summer, it's a little bit cheaper because it's really hot. But avoid, I would say, middle of October into end of February. You want to avoid all of April. Cancun, spring break, that's a mess. So May, June, July, August, September, that was a really sweet spot for us. We got there in August, so we got some great prices. Coffee shops would be your best friend. That's a digital nomad, because for whatever reason, they always have Wi-Fi. Hurricane, blizzard, like they always have Wi-Fi, but the Airbnbs don't. So coffee shops would be your best friend. And you can literally stay there all day. I've had meetings at a coffee shop, as long as you purchase something and you sip on it. I've stayed there all day when our Wi-Fi was out. So coffee shops would be your best friend, because co-working spaces, they're not really a thing. Let's see, beaches, the beaches are pretty decent, but they're not like, Fifi Island in Thailand or anything like that. So if you want to go for like this amazing beach adventure, that really isn't what Playa del Carmen is. But the people, you may think the people are a little rugged. Thinking of it from their perspective, people come, they trash their places, like they just demolish things and then they leave. And, they're left to clean that up, or they're left with, they got COVID and now they're sick and now they can support their family. So that's something to think about, because people really are sweet. Like, we would go walk around the neighborhood and people would give our son treats and things like that. So taking the time to get to know the local people. English, hit or miss, but it's more likely you'll catch somebody that can speak English in Playa del Carmen. So it's not like other places like Colombia. It was like a diamond in the rough and almost impossible to find anybody to speak English, and it's not like that in Playa del Carmen.
Awesome. Yeah, I spent 5 months in Playa del Carmen in early 2019 and really enjoyed it. And I think a couple details to add on is, for anyone who hasn't been, the city essentially runs in parallel to the beach. So you can find you can find nice modern places that are very inexpensive and very close to the beach. And there's a lot of tourists, and there's also a lot of like long-term expats and nomads, people working online. It's a big poker community there of people playing poker. I don't know if you ran into the poker folks while you were there. But there's
not
a lot
poker,
of,
but party people, definitely
a lot of party people, big time nightlife for any of the non-family crowd listening. And on the
a lot of cheap drinks. $1 you can go. And when we want to do a mini celebration, so we got 1 day off when we were there, and we went out for Mother's Day, and we just had a blast. $1 drinks. The places to eat on Fifth Avenue, with the exception of maybe 2 or 3 places, are not that good, and they're organized, and it is not good. Explore off of Fifth, or if you're on Fifth, you gotta go way, 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 way down. You know what I'm referring to? Like way down. There's Rocas, which is really good. There's Huevos, which is really good. Captain Sandwich is a really good place. Is it El Fuego or something?
El Fogón.
Really
El Fogón. Is that what you're talking about?
El Fogón. Yes.
That was my spot.
Yes.
That was my spot.
Everyone loves that place. Our son loves it there. The first time we went, he ate his 2 tacos and my 2 tacos. And we're like, what the hell? You've never eaten pork. He murdered that food.
The pork tacos there are spectacular. Highly recommend. I used to eat there basically every single night. I'd go and I'd eat like 12 tacos.
Which one did you go to? The one by Walmart? We went to the one right catty corner from Walmart.
So I used to live 15 blocks away from that one. So I used to eat at a different one, at like a small one on 40th and 20th or something. And then I ate at the Walmart one. Yeah. And then I lived I lived 2 blocks from the one near Walmart, and I'd eat at that one all the time. How would you describe the Wi-Fi in Playa del Carmen?
Sketchy. So sometimes I would say unreliable. So if you have something that you absolutely need to get done, I would recommend being at coffee shops, because their Wi-Fi, it just never goes down. Like we were there, and there were 4 hurricanes in the year and a half we were there, and they still had Wi-Fi. Like, it ripped roofs off, and how did they still have Wi-Fi? But I would say it's unreliable, and it's not an emergency to get it fixed. So, and it's not just Wi-Fi. Electricity may be off for 3 days or 4 days. We've dealt with that too. So I would say have a backup plan. It's the best way I can put it.
And were most of those outages, those are hurricane specific during hurricane season, or no?
Some of them, but other times the power just go out. And we were like, what the hell? Like, just all of a sudden, no power. And once you reach a certain limit, T-Mobile cuts you down to 3G and then 2G, which is like, oh my gosh, you can probably walk to the States faster than anything would load on 2G. So having a backup plan is essential.
I mean, on my side, I generally found the Wi-Fi to be pretty fast. I was there 5 months, never had any outages or cutouts. So I might have just hit. I don't know if I was in a different neighborhood or got lucky, but I think in general there are a lot of remote workers there. I don't know. I feel like the reputation in general is for stable Wi-Fi, unlike Tulum. But I think, as with anywhere, definitely things can happen. On the cost of living side, how would you break down cost of living from apartments, food, other costs?
Of course, it's depends on your lifestyle, of course, but we're very basic. So honestly, we need somewhere safe. My wife typically cooks a lot. We did go out to eat maybe twice a week, maybe 3 times if we were being lazy. Rappi is like, you'll learn. It's your best friend. It's all in Spanish, but you'll figure it out if you're going to Playa del Carmen. You'll figure it out. You'll learn a lot of Spanish from Rappi.
And that's Rappi, RAPPI, which is like the local delivery service.
Yes, it's like Uber, but I think Uber Eats, but it's a lot better because they're quick on those motorbikes or on bicycles or whatever it is. They're pretty quick. But from a cost of living standpoint, if you avoid the high season, I would expect to pay roughly $600 a month for a place, depending on how close you want to be to the beach. Our place was like a 15-minute walk from the beach. We were on 40th Avenue and 3rd Street, so we weren't really that far. Right by the grocery store. I would say buy a lot of your groceries from like local fruteria or like verduras and like fruit and vegetable shops or stands, and you can find them within neighborhoods. It's really fresh fruit. It's really good. You may get the gringo price a little bit, but you're supporting local. I would expect, we live there on $990 a month, and that's putting our son in preschool. That was $120 a month, and he went 6 days. 6 days a week, 5 hours a day, which was really awesome for him, and him being able to be familiar with Spanish. I would say Playa, what is that area? That it's the gated area, far to the, is it the west? I think far to the east. It's the gated community. It's Playa something. I just
Playa
can't.
Car.
I can't. Yes, Playa Car. It's nice, but it is not worth the price. And getting anywhere, you're gonna take taxis or you gotta get a bike. Staying anywhere past the freeway, because we were past the freeway for like 6 weeks, and it was horrible. There was nothing there, no grocery store. There was an OXXO, and I messaged the Airbnb host that asked, "Is there a grocery store?" He said, "Yeah." And it was an OXXO, which is basically 7-Eleven. For people who don't know, basically 7-Eleven. So we had to take taxis everywhere, and it was just impossible. So avoid anything past the highway if you don't have a car or if you don't plan on taking a lot of taxis. And then they get you on the prices. When we first got there, somebody charged us 120 pesos when it should have only been 40. So 3 times the price. So, and taxis, nothing should be more than 60, maybe 80 pesos. Maybe 80, and 80's pushing it. So don't let them get you, walk away.
Yeah.
Somebody
and
else.
always agree on the price before getting going in the taxi.
Yeah.
Because once you're in the car and you're moving, they name the price they want.
Yeah, and you're kind of stuck. And WhatsApp. Oh my goodness. WhatsApp is a big deal all over the world. So if you plan on traveling anywhere, you need WhatsApp. And everyone except for the US uses it. And I don't understand why. And I think Canada, I don't think they use it. But WhatsApp, everything's in one place. It's encrypted. It's pretty nice. So you'll need WhatsApp. And you can order from there. You can do everything for WhatsApp. It's awesome. I wouldn't pay more than overall per month, $1,800 a month. As a family of 2.5, we made it on $1,000, and we went to resorts once a month. We just went during the week on the low days, like on a random Tuesday and Wednesday. We would go for 2 days, 1 night, and we get there super early, 9 o'clock in the morning. We're there. They hold our luggage, and we go hop in the pool.
Nice.
And we leave very late that night on checkout. So we check out, we leave our luggage, and we go get back in the pool.
Nice.
And we stay until they kick us out.
On the booking housing side, I just booked housing through Airbnb. I know some people will like search around in Facebook groups and do different things. What advice would you have for someone who's thinking about booking housing?
So we went Facebook Marketplace first, which is a huge asset, but you have to really pay attention because people scam on there. Don't send anybody any money beforehand. And one lady, the guy, like, he had a key, he showed their apartment and everything. She gave him the money and never heard from him again.
Damn.
So you really got to do your due diligence. What we did is we went through Airbnb, we contacted the owner, and then we took it offline. And that's how we were able to negotiate a price because it was empty. And we said, you know, we'll be there long term. At the time, it was 6 months. And it we ended up staying there a year and 4 months or something like that.
Damn.
So he had consistent money for a year.
Damn.
So the longer you stay, the more you can negotiate price.
And anything else to add on Playa del Carmen as a digital nomad location before we wrap up?
It's a great launching pad for other places. Tulum, I'm not a huge Tulum person, but great launching pad. Cozumel, you can go to Isla Mujeres, you can go to Holbox, you can go. It's a great launching pad for different places, but it's not as hectic as Cancun.
Well, I appreciate you sharing everything here, and I appreciate your time. Last question for you would be, for anyone who wants to get in touch with you or continue to follow your journey, what websites or what social media handles should they check out?
It's a family thing with a Z, so ITZ, a family thing. On Instagram, on Facebook, on our website. It's all the same thing. Our emails on our website, and I try really hard to respond to all of our emails that we get from people. I get emails from moms about breastfeeding while traveling, all types of questions that we have and content that we haven't published yet, but we've experienced traveling since our son was 8 weeks. So feel free to reach out. I respond to 99%. Sometimes things hit my spam and I just don't notice.
I hear you. Well, awesome. Really appreciate your time and thank you for doing this.
Oh, thank you. I had a blast.